President of the Chesapeake Region Safety Council. We are a regional independent chapter of the National Safety Council, and our mission is to educate and influence people to prevent accidental injury and death. In addition to being a chapter of the National Safety Council, we are also the lead partner of the Mid-Atlantic OSHA Training Institute Education Center. So we are an authorized OTI Ed Center in Region 3, OSHA's Region 3 of the country. So that means we have the authority to teach the numbered OSHA courses you might run into, like a 510, 511. If you see any of those numbered OSHA courses, we are authorized in our territory to teach those. We also do those through a virtual instructor-led training platform. So we do them in person as well as we do them through a VILT or an online type format. So if you're in need of one of those training programs, look us up. Check our website out, www.chesapeakesc.org. And we have lots of training going on, both in person and through the VILT system. So we can meet your needs. If you got a need, we're here to help you out. So without further ado, what I want to do is introduce our speaker and also talk briefly about, he's going to talk today about construction equipment visibility. You know, we have some issues nowadays, especially with the reduced amount of traffic that people are driving at higher speeds, believe it or not, you know, lower traffic volume, higher speeds on the highway. And we have an excellent speaker. I've known this gentleman for a number of years, and we share a bond as brothers in a very unique fraternity. And I'll let you guess where that is as he gets ready to start. But gentleman, Henry Alfred, he's an occupational health and safety manager with 20 years at the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration. He's also got 30 plus years as a safety professional, and I could go on about credentials and qualifications and stuff like that. What I will tell you, this guy is a quality individual. All right. He is a brother of mine from another mother, I guess, if you will. But you know what? Henry is not going to bore you. And Henry's got some extremely valuable information he's going to share with you today. So I'm going to ask you to pay close attention. And I'm going to tell Henry, Semper Fi, my brother, have at it.
Semper Fi, David. Thank you so much. First and foremost, let me just thank Dave and the quality staff that he has there at the Chesapeake Region Safety Council. I have been going there and have met many friends in class as well as the staff there. They're A1 and just can't beat it. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Good morning, everyone. This is new. It's new for myself. I have taught many of classes along with my staff, and this new way of teaching, it just shows you how quick we can adapt. So to get to it, the roadway work zones is hazardous for both motorists and the workers, and it's a complex array of signs, barrels, and it changes for the workers as well as the traveling public every day. And I'm gonna give you a few figures here. Believe it or not, pickup trucks and SUVs account for 151 worker deaths on the road as well as in construction sites. Now, that sounds kind of strange. You'd think everybody would know what's around them, but that's not it because we get complacent. You've heard this word before because most of you are safety professionals or you are operators of equipment. Machinery makes up 131, automobiles 129, semi-trucks 124, and dump trucks 82%. And it's not just a construction issue, it is also a general industry warehouse, working in and outside of buildings. So you would think it's not so dangerous, but it very well is. And today we're going to do something different. We always talk about knowing your safe zones, knowing your escape routes. We also talk about the equipment inside the zone. But do we talk about it from an operator's perspective? I always tell people, remember one thing, the operator is not looking for you. So you need to look out for him. You need to know where you are, and what the possibilities are. So you need to learn the no zone. And then we're going to look at different blind spots of different equipment that are associated with work zones, construction, or general industry. Also, I'm going to give you this construction equipment visibility from NIOSH. For anybody who does not know what that is, that's the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. You go on there and you click on construction equipment visibility, it will give you the same charts, but it's really great because it shows you the equipment. You click on the link below it and it shows you what the blind spots for that individual one are. So without further ado, let's get into it. And the shaded area surrounding each vehicle represents the danger zone or no zone in which the vehicle operator's view of pedestrian traffic is greatly reduced. Now, this is a standard Manlift. Again, it's generally people in the bucket. This can be operated from the bucket, driven from the bucket if anybody's never seen one. And the thing about it is, it's a hazard to the operator as well as the people around it. And the reason being is uneven terrain. Some of you who have been to the Chesapeake Region Council and have taught classes or been in any class know that uneven terrain has caused actual people to flip out of these things. So, but when they're driving them, again, they're not looking for you. You need to look for them. Anytime you are around a piece of equipment, you definitely need to know one thing and one thing only. Where is your escape route? You need to be able to get out of the way of that piece of equipment if something goes wrong. And the thing about it is, when you want to cross behind or in front of a piece of equipment, the most important thing is get the operator's attention. And you might say to you, Henry, what do you mean, get his attention? You need to make sure that you have eye contact with that operator, and you need to signal your intention to that operator. Now, back in the day when I was a heavy equipment operator, the rule was, once you got my attention, I was to raise my hands and move my feet back. Now you say, what is that about, Henry? Well, that lets you know I have acknowledged you. My hands are up off of my dials, off of my sticks or whatever, my levers, so that you know I will not accidentally hit anything. And once you go past me, you acknowledge that you've passed me, I acknowledge, I'll get back to work. Simple solution. Make sure the operator has your undivided attention and you have his, and then you do what you need to do, whether you have to pick up something around the equipment or cross in front. If you notice, even at ground level, with the bucket down, or this Manlift, 95 feet behind him is a blind spot. That's a lot. That's a lot of blind spot. And a lot of things could be happening behind here and beside him, 36 feet. So you have to take into account all of this. If there's a wall, barrier wall, guardrail, whatever on either side of this piece of equipment, it could accidentally tilt over, whatever. They don't see you, you're in the way, something happens. I got a couple of examples that we'll go across here pretty soon. Hydraulic crane, something we see all the time on a construction site. You may see it in a warehouse, outside a warehouse. You may be building something. Now, because of where the operator sits on the left-hand side, okay, that boom can either swing right or left, but it does articulate up and down. Now, he may have to move the equipment to move something around. Not all of them articulate. Some of them are fixed. But the thing about it is, you see the area of fully obstructed view? Even if that articulates or rotates left or right, guess what? You're absolutely right. That obstructed view moves with the operator. So now it changes the whole dynamic and perspectives of the area that he is in. We had an incident some years ago where a guy was in the way, had his back turned, and the operator didn't see him. When he swung around with the piece of equipment, the equipment hit him. And injure the man. So you have to be aware of the surroundings. You know, you can't be standing beside this piece of equipment, you know, because you don't know chains, you don't know what's going on. He may accidentally have a swinging piece of equipment and it actually moves the piece of equipment and you get trapped under the wheels or whatnot. So, you know, you have to remember as safety professionals, I'm going to say this, and I understand you already know this. Who looks out for your safety? Who's responsible for your safety? You. Remember that. Nobody else. You. You cannot take into account that somebody else is looking out for your welfare and your well-being. So right here, I mean, just look at the different areas around this piece of equipment. You ask yourself, you know, even if the equipment doesn't hurt you, something off the equipment. I can tell you this. If you have never felt hot hydraulic fluid, you're not missing anything and you don't want to miss it. If one of those belts fly off or one of those hydraulic hoses should break, fail, whatever, and spew you with that hot hydraulic fluid, you will never forget that. I can guarantee you, you will never forget it. So you just have to be careful. And a lot of times, especially with construction work, we are working in such tight areas. And we have what's called LODs. And for the construction people in the room, LOD is limit of destruction. That means we cannot go past a certain area, left, right, front, or rear. And the thing about that is, because it's so tight, now we're limited on how we can get a piece of material in, stuff like that. So, and most of the blind spots are based on a average person, maybe 4'11" or up. Everybody's, you know, not 6 foot tall. Sometimes you may be able to see the top of someone's head, maybe not. So you still have to be careful of where you are. And this is just a basic hydraulic crane, reel in the back. Also, you have to be careful because this has what? Now, it's showing 10 feet here on the side, but that 10 feet doesn't account for the outriggers as well. Now, we've actually had people's feet get trapped under outrigger. They were standing by it when it came out or whatever, and or it slid on the dirt, and they were standing beside it, and their foot got caught underneath it. So it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. So, again, remember, one of the most important safety rules about working around equipment is to let the operator know where you are in relationship to his piece of equipment. And if you need to cross, come close, or whatever, you need to get their attention. Or if there's a spotter, you need to get the spotter's attention. Make sure that the spotter is aware of your location to come in front or behind that piece of equipment. Backhoe, common piece of equipment. Now, we're just talking about the blind spots of this thing being parked right here. And this is so funny because this piece of equipment has dual capability. Now, a lot of people don't even think about that because they usually see it from the bucket end. This is the bucket end right here, front of it. Scoops, rock, dirt, whatever. Operator drives it, front. Now, the back. Sometimes it has outriggers, sometimes it doesn't. The back scoop locks in the up position. The operator can turn his seat around, switch the operation from the front to the rear, and now he can operate off the back. Now, there's a lot of problems with this piece of equipment because now when he's turned around to the rear of this equipment, his blind spot is now changed. It's different from what it was when he was facing forward. We usually tell backhoe operators when they're using the back scoop as an excavator, do not push off of a solid piece of rock or equipment. Now, why do you think that is? Correct. Because when he pushes off a solid piece of equipment, it causes the backhoe to roll forward if it doesn't have outriggers on it. because the wheels are still on the ground. So if he pushes, even though he may have his front bucket dug into the ground, it will still cause that backhoe to move. So you have to be careful about being around this pinch zone, stuff like that. You've heard about it. So again, we don't really never talk about blind spots because we think people are aware of their surroundings at all times, and that's just not true. One of my coworkers and I, we got a phone call one day of a gentleman who got hit by a pickup truck. He said he was okay and everything was good. Of course, we're going to go out there, run an investigation, see what happened. We get out there, we expect to see the worker. We don't see the worker. Once we begin the investigation of how did this all happen, they tell us that the guy was backing the pickup truck up. Our worker didn't see him, stepped into the path of the truck hit him. So we asked where the coworker was. He was transported to the hospital. Okay, we're thinking it's just going to be a cursory checkup and he'll be back to work. We haven't seen that coworker in 7 years. Apparently, when he got hit, it crushed his pelvis, broke his femur, and some other stuff. So that's why you have to be very careful and you have to investigate these incidents because they will be far more than what you expect them to be. And it was kind of, ironic that the call we got is he's okay. But once we started doing our investigation, it was a total different, we don't know why he walked in front of it or behind it. So those are the type of things that you have to be aware of. And with the advent of these cell phones, even though people are not supposed to be on their cell phones at work, okay, especially in the construction zone, they have made it a lot easier for people to do it now without being spotted because of what? Earbuds. Everybody wants to have earbuds. Everybody, I have a friend of mine, a nephew of mine, he cannot put his phone down. I don't care what he's doing. As soon as that thing vibrates or he feels the vibration, he thinks it's the phone. There is nothing in this world more important than your life on that phone. It can't wait. Back in my day, we didn't have cell phones. We talked to you when we got there. Or we called you and asked for ourselves and hung the phone up. That's how we used to do it back in the day. So, again, you need to be aware of your surroundings at all times. Period. I can't emphasize that enough. It sounds like repetition, but the thing about it is you got these young people out here, you got some older people who are just complacent, and we're just not thinking about things. Or we're so focused in trying to get the information that we need that we just, sounds funny. So, but these blind spots, you need to be aware of them because you may not be the operator. The operator is only looking to get the job that he has been tasked with done. He is not looking for anybody to be around the equipment because he's thinking you ought to be smart enough to know I'm right here. So bulldozer, another key item on the construction site, 16 feet. Now, the operator is sitting almost 6 feet, 3 inches above ground level. So you would think they have a 360-degree view. Beautiful view. They can see everything. Wrong. They can't. Especially if the blade's up. This blade is up. But this is just a resting position. Look at these numbers. 16 feet behind him, 18 feet in front. And if he's pushing dirt or rock, what do you think is going to happen? Exactly. It's going to start to slide up that blade, and it's just going to obscure his view even more. And it's a tragedy. We actually, I don't know if we have a picture of an excavator. We had a young man working for us during the summer one year. We were driving down 695 pretty early in the morning. We look over. What do we see? We see a worker laying on top of the track of a piece of equipment. I can't make this up, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot make this up. Listen to me. He was laying on the tracks of the equipment. Of course, we had to get off at the next exit, come back down. We had to immediately get into the work zone. Immediately. And fortunate enough, we got there before anybody started anything or moved anything. And there he was, asleep on the tracks of this piece of equipment. Now, how many of you would even believe this story if I was to tell you this and you didn't know me? But I can't make it up. I couldn't even think of nothing like that. It's funny. So, luckily, young guy, college kid, and he had a safety course from us, and it was just something he did. We couldn't, he couldn't explain it to me why he did it in a way that I would accept it. So there we have it. But again, the operator's in there, and you have to be really, really careful, and you can't trust every operator. We had a crane operator, for whatever reason, was holding up it's called a diaphragm underneath a bridge. He was hooked to it, and a guy was cutting the diaphragm with a torch. And for whatever reason, the crane operator got up, and instead of putting the brake safety on, which is a lever beside the seat, he just stood up, turned around to adjust his radio. When he did, he hit the lever, and it dropped the guy 2 stories. Fortunate for the guy, I mean, he got hurt. He got hurt really bad, but it was a 45-degree angle underneath the bridge, so his fall actually was not directly straight down to the ground. He kind of rolled and tumbled in some other equipment that kind of fell on top of him. So these are other things. You don't know who the operator is. Most of you have seen the Big Blue video. Need I say any more? Saw what happened at Brewer Stadium. It killed 7 people. Those 2 guys in that crane were not operators. It was just somebody trying to show that they could do something, and they did. It killed 7 people. Front end loaders, same thing, bucket on the front. Now, look here, 28 feet, 11 inches, and they're 10 feet above ground. That operator is almost 10 feet above ground. Again, you do not have a 360-degree view. And that's inside here. Of course, the noise, again, he is focused in on doing what he's doing. These operators have a lot of responsibility of grading. Sometimes you'll see them on the side of a hill going up and down, and what they're trying to do, that's an environmental thing. So they have to be focused in on what they're doing so they don't turn that piece of equipment over. And when you think of stuff like that, you're like, when you're focused in on what you're doing, what do we call it? Having blinders on. We do a lot of that. I mean, even 30 years in this business, doing what I'm doing, every now and then I have to be reminded to take my blinders off. I'm no different than anybody else. I'm human. I come to work, I have different emotional days. I try not to have bad days, but sometimes something's weighing heavily on my mind, and I'm just not in the zone. I'm not in the no zone. And then I walk out there and I'm focused in on something else other than at the task at hand. And you got equipment running 1,000 different ways. You hear 20 backup alarms. Which one do you focus in on? You don't know. And with the advent of the white noise backup alarm, and if any of you have not heard one or been around one, the noise does not emanate directly from the sides of the vehicle. In order to hear it, you have to actually be behind the vehicle. And they did that because a lot of work zones were at night. Okay, and that's another thing. If we have 28 feet, possibly in the daytime, what do you think the visibility of you or any other piece of equipment or whatever will be at night? It'd be worse. Because now you have to do what? You have to take into account the lighting. And most people don't take the lighting into effect because what does the lighting create? I think I heard somebody in the class say it. Yeah, shadows, exactly. It creates shadows. And those shadows do what? It extends the blind spots. And it also blinds the operator as well as you. Because your judgment is based on you actually physically seeing where you are and seeing the piece of equipment and telling if it's moving or not. So with this front end loader, it's the same thing. He's picking up stuff. And again, he may be doing something that a lot of people see. What does he use that front bucket for? Usually lifts it all the way up to put what? Material in a dump truck. Once he does that and he empties that bucket, what is he going to do? He's going to back up to get back to where the material was, the waste material, to lift it up again to put it in the dump truck. So anything behind this front end loader, he's not paying attention to. You might bend down and tie your shoe thinking it's stopped. You know, you whatever, for whatever reason, you might be leaning up against it when he decides to pull off. So you have to take into account where you are. And if you're an operator, you know, you ain't gonna have a lot of time. You're not gonna have a lot of time to look and see if everybody's around you. But blowing your horn and stuff like that to let them know or whatever is to warn people around you. So this is the front end loader, and a lot of you in the class today, we know that you're safety professionals. A lot of you come from other transportation departments. Some of you come from some of the construction crews that we deal with here in the state of Maryland, as well as some that may be out. And of course, you know some stuff that goes on because you hear about it, and you may have met some of us. I have a crew that actually inspects the construction sites throughout the state of Maryland, which could be 300 at any given time. And we've had a lot of incidents that have become a problem. And what we try to do is send information out so that it doesn't become a problem for other people. We may not be able to stop what has already happened, of course, but we can try to prevent it from happening again. Now, one of the things that most people get in, and I mean, they drive this thing like it's a go-kart. This Bobcat, this skid loader. I mean, I have seen guys, whip these things around, and they definitely aren't paying attention. Because if you look at the articulating arm, it's on the side of the Bobcat. On the side. Now, this thing can be configured in a lot of ways. It's almost like a excavator. It could have a jackhammer on the front. It could have a broom on the front. It could have the bucket on the front. It could have a lot of other things on the front. So, again, operator's 5 feet above ground, but the thing about it, his view is obscured on both sides and to the rear. If he has a bucket up in the front, and the thing about it is, you yourself, most of you, paving operations, picking up material in the work zone, you've seen these guys spin these things around like it's nobody's business. And the thing about it is, it doesn't take but a split second to change your life and the life of your family. Remember that. You know, a lot of people take that for granted. But I'm telling you, I've seen enough of it, and I can sit here and talk all day about it. It doesn't take but a second, a split second, to change your life and somebody else's life. Okay? Because you think about this. If you're hurt or injured, how many people will it take to help you out? If in fact you have anybody at home to help you out. See, those are the questions you need to ask yourself. Yeah, we want you to go home the same way you came to work. A little bit wiser, a little bit smarter, but you just have to be careful what you're doing. Right here with this Bobcat and this steering, you just have to make sure, again, operator knows where you are. And sometimes it's just best not to even, if you see it moving, get away from it. But again, know your escape route. Because these guys drive these things like it's nobody's business. I've seen them move so fast, and it wasn't intentional. They've actually hit guardrail on the paving crew. They've actually backed into the guardrail. They were moving so fast. So just be careful about it. And if you've never seen one, if you get the opportunity and you see one somewhere and you can safely get out and go take a look at it, do so. You'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, because, and generally, generally, the people who are operating these should be certified to do it, but chances are they aren't. It's just somebody who knows how to do it. Somebody showed them how to do it. And their safety knowledge on that piece of equipment is not like yours or mine. Okay? Remember that. Everybody who operates a piece of equipment, not except for the guys in cranes, we make sure that they have their certifications and qualifications. Remember, everybody's not qualified or certified. And those are two totally different things. Being qualified and being certified, two totally different things. Remember that. High reach forklift. A lot of y'all see these on buildings and whatnot. Lifting material to the roof. Operated 7 feet off the ground. Again, look at the blind spot to the side, 85 feet. 85 feet. And most of the time, of course, this arm articulates up and down from the operator's right side. And then again, he has material on the front. Now, they drive this with material on it. So now you have two hazards. The piece of equipment itself and the material on it. Okay? So you have to be careful of everything you do. Because now the material has created a blind spot for the operator. And chances are you have some really good operators out there. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there are bad operators out there. But the thing about it is everybody's not thinking about what they're doing. And sometimes a guy would try to move that forklift close to the building and whatnot. And the operator's trying to look at the load, where he's going to sit it, and you at the same time. That's a no-no. That's not going to even happen because somebody's going to get hurt regardless. But the only thing he needs to know, and if he's a good operator, before he sets that down, he's going to get out of that piece of equipment and he's going to walk whatever distance it is to that place that he's going to put that material. Now, why should he do that? Can anybody tell me why he should do that? Of course. Yes, you're right. Because he needs to know the terrain up to the place he's going to set that load. That will give him the knowledge and opportunity to know how that load on his forks should be. Because if he hits a low spot and the back end of that thing comes up and that load slides off, you see what I'm saying? Again, blind spots, hazards, stuff like that. So, I mean, 39 feet. I mean, you're talking about some serious blind spots here. Now, how many people in these classes has actually thought about blind spots on pieces of equipment? I mean, for years I didn't. Until I became a heavy equipment operator. And I thought about it. I was like, wow, man, I can hardly see anything. And then when I'm focused in on the job that I'm doing, I'm not worried about anything else. I'm protected in this piece of equipment. The only thing I don't want to do is turn it over, you know? So, righty. And while we're here, let me just tell you another incident that we had. And it was kind of strange. And this happened actually, the same incident happened twice in a 1 week period. We had a paving operation. Get a phone call that somebody's been struck by a dump truck. Okay. So we get up there, we start our investigation. First question, what happened? Is the operator here? Where's everybody? Is everybody okay? No, we have a fatality. Okay. Where was the fatality? On the ground? No. Where was it? It was the operator of a dump truck. Okay. He was struck by a dump truck while he was in his dump truck? Yes. Okay, I've heard a lot of things. There's a lot of mysteries in this world. There's a lot of unexplained things that we just don't have time to explain. But, let me get to the bottom of this. Okay. What happened was, after he had dumped his load, most operators, they would go down a little bit a ways and lift their beds up and clean them out. So what happened was, he backed his truck up, and as another dump truck had got his pulled in front of him and dropped his load, the other truck was directly, the driver's side of the truck was directly in the blind spot of the dump truck in front of him. All he could see was the right side light. He didn't see anything else. So he started backing up. The operator in the rear dump truck had his door open and was leaning out of his door, the cab of the truck. He got pinned between the door, the dump truck, and the frame of the truck. And the operator thought he had maybe hit a bump or something. So what do you think he did? He gassed the truck. He gassed the truck, crushed the man. Killed the operator of a dump truck while he was in the cab of his truck. Had never, ever heard of that before in my life. Never. It was a first. Then it happened 2 or 3 days later. Same incident. Then I had sent out a letter, special letter to all construction sites in the state of Maryland that dump truck operators were no longer allowed to stop within the travel of a paving operation. They were to move completely out of the travel lane. And that way they could go wherever they needed to go. We had a clean out area for them, and they had to stay there and do it one at a time or however they were supposed to do it, but they were not supposed to be moving in the travel lane. So it was unfortunate. We had 2 incidents like that, and we had to figure out what went on, and we watched it and we saw it on different construction sites, and we had to stop that. So it's blind spots. Who would ever thought that a man in his cab of his truck would get trapped in the cab of his truck? Now, I've heard about guys getting trapped underneath the dump body and stuff like that. So, of course, we answer that. We've also had a rash of dump trucks tipping over while the bed's up. And you're saying, Henry, how in the world is this happening? They tip over backwards and they've tipped over sideways. Now, is that a blind spot? Yes, it's a blind spot. So you shouldn't be nowhere around a dump truck when it's dumping anyway. But what happens is we got a lot of new drivers, and they're getting, I guess, just relatively new classes, short classes and whatnot. And we come to find out they weren't letting the airbags down on the dump truck before they lift the body up, which caused what? The body to rock when the load shifted. It would rock so hard sometimes it actually flipped the truck over. I've had that happen 3 times before I had to figure out, look, what we need to do is make sure nobody's nowhere behind that truck or on the sides of that truck. Because on the first one, had somebody been standing beside it, it would have been unfortunate because they wouldn't have been able to get out of the way in time. Forklift, 3-ton. Look where the operator is. Those are fixed forks up and down. 8 feet doesn't seem like a lot. 5 feet doesn't seem like a lot. But when you're in that zone, it doesn't take but a split second. You know, we had an incident where a guy got caught between, I forget what the equipment was, but he got caught between a jersey wall. You know, jersey walls, those walls you see on the highway, for those who don't know, that you see the workers behind. Those are called jersey walls. And we've had people trapped in between the equipment and those walls or another piece of equipment where they couldn't get out. They were trapped, not paying attention. The operator 6 feet above ground. But again, this thing has these 4 wheels up front and the guide wheel in the back that turns. This again is a tight turning piece of equipment, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you right now, you are responsible for where you are in relationship to any piece of equipment in the work zone. And this right here, you tend to think that the small equipment is not really dangerous because you can see the big equipment. But trust me, just like that skip loader, these tight turning, small, nimble as you will, piece of equipment, okay, will what? We'll catch you. We'll get you. You spin around, piece of clothing gets stuck in it, your safety vest gets stuck in it. Or let's be realistic. A lot of people like to ride on the equipment. That's a no-no. And if you're on a piece of equipment and the operator you're in a blind spot on that piece of equipment and you fall off and that operator does not know that you fell off, there could be dire consequences for you and him. There's a video, and a lot of you safety professionals in the class today, you know, we've shared our video. We had a forklift at a metal yard. And I don't know if any of y'all saw it. He was backing up, not paying attention. He was close to the train tracks. Train got him. It spun the doggone forklift around about 3 or 4 times. Fortunate, nobody got hurt. Pride was hurt, but nobody got hurt. Again, these nimble little things right here, and again, it's the operators. It's the operators as well. They have to know what's going on around them. Situational awareness, okay? That's a term that I have been associated with, Dave has, and I want you to be aware of it too. Situational awareness. Your work zone, your office, your building, your construction site, your dump truck, your piece of equipment, every day it is not the same. Something changed in the area. I don't care what it is. Situational awareness. You need to be aware of it at all times. You need to know what? What did I say you need to know at all times? Your escape route. Exactly. Know where you need to go to get away. Because you don't want to run what? Into another path of another piece of equipment. Or jump over a jersey wall and there may not be anything but water there, okay, or vehicles. And I don't know if any of y'all like car races, but you come stand out there with us sometime. You'll think you're at the speedway. They think they are anyway. A year or two ago, we had a major accident on one of the highways, and a nurse went to administer first aid to somebody. And as she was getting ready to do that, the second part of this accident came. Track trailer came flying down through the already carnage. She had nowhere to go. This was up in Frederick at Monocacy Boulevard. Well, she only had one way to go, off the side of the bridge. That was 10 feet into the water. So, fortunately, she lived, was banged up a little bit. But again, she had nowhere else to go. But she did know that she had somewhere. Now, whether it was better than being involved in the accident, who's to say? You just don't know. It was early morning. So, okay. 10 ton. Okay, we went from one extreme to the next. 10-ton forklift. Again, same thing as the one before, just a little bit bigger, a little bit higher off the ground. The dynamics of the blind spots have changed. And again, this class is just to make you aware from the perspective of the operator. There used to be a safety, work zone safety grant that was out there, and they came up with this beautiful blind spot thing that was interactive, where you actually could put yourself in a piece of equipment and look around and see the different blind spots that you were working with or without, so to speak. So Naj has one now that you can take a look at, and you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at what cannot be seen from a piece of equipment that you mentally will think, well, he's sitting up high. He should be able to see everything. That's not the case. That's not the case. So that's a false sense of security by not knowing. Is to assume. And most of us as grown people, we know what that word has been broken down for us many times. But let's not assume that they see everything, because obviously they don't. 17-ton forklift. We've had some of those on the job because they would lift. You'll see them every now and then with the crane helping with some of these soundproof barrier walls, or they'll hold them up so the guys can get straps on them or rebar and stuff like that. Again, you got to look at everything around you. You got to look at everything around you. I got a phone call some years ago up by WMATA, and I had a lot of friends there at WMATA, and we had a dump truck run over a young man, an older man. And of course, I'm looking for cameras, so I called WMATA and see if their cameras were facing out, and it wasn't. And I finally found this car dealership up the road. I mean, he had this small camera, but man, was it powerful. You couldn't even tell he had a camera. And I got the video. And unfortunately, there were like 20 people out there when this man got ran over by this dump truck. And it was kind of crazy how it happened. The driver never saw him. He felt him, but he never saw him. And one of the things during my investigation, a guy came up to me and said, well, I heard the hard hat hit the ground. Yeah, you were like 8 feet away from him. The shaver, the asphalt was on, and the dump truck was running. And you telling me you heard a hard hat hit the ground? Got better hearing than I do, because I wouldn't have been able to hear nothing. And it was unfortunate, man was killed. And doing that investigation, it was determined that the man had been drinking. So that's another thing. Let me make it clear. You've grown, been on your own, you're working. If you are taking antihistamines or anything for colds or whatever, and you are not yourself, you are in another state of mind, you need to do your best. If you have to go to work, that's fine. You need to let somebody know that, hey, it'd be in your best interest not to be around equipment today. You could do something else. Because I'm telling you right now, you're not in the right frame of mind to be around equipment where you can think, and your reaction time is slow. Okay? You may be fast when you're not sick. Once you're sick, the dynamics of your health change. Or for us older folks or vertically challenged folks, you know, we have to definitely make sure I can't hear. So that goes for horn. You think I could hear a horn. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, depending on how I'm standing. So I definitely have to be cautious about where I'm at and what I'm doing, because sometimes I just can't hear it. Okay? Also, you have a lot of non-English speaking people working out here in your areas or in your offices or wherever. You got to make sure they understand this stuff too. You know, it's not just for the English speaking people. The non-English people who are out there working hard too need to be protected. So, you know, we need to give classes, instruction, you know, make sure somebody's there that speaks English who can save these people. If this thing comes crashing back down because the operator didn't put the brake on, okay, and this thing is rolling down, somebody needs to be around to make sure those people can hear and somebody can tell them to get out of the way. Also, what's the one thing you always see people doing on a nice, hot, sunny day? They find a shaded area around some of this equipment and they do what? They eat their lunch. And most of the time, the operators don't cut the equipment off because it takes too much fuel to cut it back on. They leave it running. You think he walked around that equipment? No. It's almost the same thing as kids in your home. How many of y'all walk around your vehicle when you're at home to see if make sure no children are around? Blind spots. It happens, and you as adults know it happens because you have talked about it before. Semi-truck. What's the biggest problem with these? You see it all the time. The guy tells you, if you can't see my mirrors, I can't see you. How many of y'all seen that? Raise your hand. Oh, okay. Most of y'all. Yeah, you've seen it. Look at the obstructive view. And what do? They back up into the work zone or your warehouse without any spotters. That's a no-no, especially in construction warehouses. Now, when they go to a loading dock, that's different. But they still should be aware. They still should get out and walk around their vehicle to make sure nobody's around. But look at the distance we're talking about. You have to be smart. You have to be smart. These tractor trailers, I'm telling you, they can't see directly behind them. I've had one actually pull out of a work zone through a closed lane. And I had to get the state police to stop him. You know, he knew that was a no-no. Dump trucks. How many people think about dump trucks? Some of them come to your area, some of them come to your offices, places like that. So these are things you have to be aware of. I mean, just, again, blind spots. And some of these obstructive views will not change except for with the vehicle. It will change when the vehicle changes position, but it's still an obstructed view. High vac truck. How many of y'all dealt with high vac trucks? We deal with them a lot here, and I know Ramada has high rail vac trucks. MTA here has it where they clean the tracks and stuff. Also on construction sites, because they clean what? They clean the drains. Clean the drain. This thing is loud. If you have never, ever heard one, it is a vacuum cleaner on steroids like you have never seen in your life. It has a water hose in the front. But again, the operator's view with the hose, 100 feet of hose or whatever, is obstructed. I mean, again, this area behind it is a fixed, obstructed view. And he has a spout right here that comes out and can move around. So again, ladies and gentlemen, you need to know the equipment and you need to know your avenue of escape. Because the boom for the vacuum hose right here, it actually articulates left and right over the cab of that truck. So it also changes the operator's view. 5-ton dump truck. Again, I've had a guy caught underneath the rear duals of this. They lift the body up. I've had people that would have been standing on the side to take tickets or whatever, truck turns over. Again, be cautious of the equipment that you're around. At least know what its capabilities are. What does it do? Does it swing? Does it lift? What if the parking brake is not set? What if he accidentally rolls back a few feet and you don't know it? You see the dump truck, but the thing about it is it rolls back a few feet. Operator's in it. You might push the clutch in. It might just roll back a little bit, roll forward a little bit. Where are you in a relationship to it? Again, situational awareness. A bus. Now, a lot of, we don't use buses a lot, but some construction crews have gang buses where they bring all the workers to work on a bus. They go park somewhere else and they drive to the work site. So again, people get underneath the shaded area of the bus or put stuff behind it. School buses, okay? Again. Now, street sweeper. You probably say to yourself, say, Henry, street sweeper. 2 people were killed by a street sweeper in D.C. I did the investigation for one of the construction crews in D.C. They called me to come help them out because they didn't have any safety people. And the legal ramifications behind it was going to be ugly for them anyway. But they just wanted to know, to make sure. A lady got caught up in this thing. Operator didn't see her. And why she didn't see this thing, I'll never know. Again, what did I say? What is the street sweeper doing? They have steering wheels on both sides of these things. But what is he doing? He's looking out the window. He's looking out the window to make sure he stays to the edge of the curb so he can clean the edge of the curb. He's not looking for you. I'm telling you that right now. There's no way he's looking for you. If you got your iPod, your earpods, or whatever they call it in your ears and stuff, and you're not paying attention, how many times you don't watch the videos and laughed at people walking into a water fountain, walking in the pose? Ain't a mistake. They didn't have the things in their ears and they left that phone in their pocket every now and then, they'd be okay. Yeah, I hate to say it, but yeah, this new technology is great, but it also comes with a cost. Okay. This is a Straddle lift truck. Now, this lift stuff underneath, some of you may not never seen one, but we also have a machine similar to this that actually lays concrete to make a barrier wall. That thing, you get caught between that and the rebar, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be ugly. Even if you survive, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly because now we got to get you out of this thing. And now that it's already grabbed you, there ain't much we can do but try to get the rest of what's left out. Okay, that's how that goes. So I'm just letting you know. This right here is a terrible piece of equipment because there are blind spots underneath, around, inside. It's just a terrible machine to be around, and you definitely have to be very careful around it. Scooter, Crushman scooter, little small truck, same thing. Again, I'm just trying to make sure you are aware of blind spots. LPAR, just another lifting piece of equipment. So that is it. I don't know if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask, but again, this has been a great opportunity for me. I want to thank you all for being here today. And if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them in the next few minutes.
So thank you, everybody, for attending. Henry, I've known you for more than 10 years. Yes. We were able to work together. I'm sorry, first of all, my name is Debbie Jennings, and I'm here at Chesapeake Region Safety Council. I'm the Director of Traffic Services and Special Projects. And I've known Henry since we worked together in Annapolis at State Highway on a pedestrian project on West Street. He needed a little help keeping his workers safe, and I happen to have some highway safety funds that we directed creatively, appropriately, but very creatively, to keep his crews a little safer. So I don't see any questions in the chat. I do see some comments about it being a great presentation. And if anybody has any questions regarding this and you want to ask them privately, you can send them to us here at, let's go with Debbie at chesapeakesc.org. And we'll either forward them to Henry or direct them appropriately. If you would like to see today's presentation, it will be up on the website, the same website that all of you registered at. And we will also put it on our YouTube page in the coming days. So thank you again, Henry. It was a great presentation. I smiled through the whole thing because you did a great job. It was a pleasure having you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you all for joining. And I really appreciate it. And continue to support the Chesapeake Region Safety Council. I've been going there for 18 years. So I'm telling you, thank you, everybody. And y'all have a great day and be safe.
Be safe. Thank you.